All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at awakening to the source mirror and exploring the completely mind-bending philosophy of the classic Buddhist text, The Record of the Source Mirror. Compiled by the great Zen master Yangming Yanshu, this massive work wasn't just meant to be some dry academic encyclopedia. No, it was designed to literally shatter the way we perceive ourselves and the universe. Today, we're going to break down some of its most compelling ideas that challenge the very foundation of how we view our daily struggles, our potential, and the actual nature of reality itself. So we're starting with a deeply provocative, kind of shocking thesis from the text. What if you're already enlightened, but you just forgot? Seriously, think about that. The text argues that you and the Buddha share the exact same essence, right here, right now. It posits that there isn't this vast, uncrossable chasm between a confused everyday person and a fully awakened sage. Instead, the ultimate truth is that the perfection you might be endlessly searching for, it's already the underlying operating system of your mind. To really wrap our heads around this massive paradigm shift, let's look at part one, the secret of one mind, a unifying principle. So what exactly is this one mind? Basically, it's a single unified nature that is shared by literally all sentient beings and Buddhas. It means that seeing your true nature is exactly the same thing as seeing the Buddha's nature. The text goes to great lengths to emphasize that the wisdom of the Buddha isn't some external prize that you have to acquire from scratch. Instead, it naturally flows through all of us. It's this boundless potential we can all tap into. The author explicitly states that there isn't a single sentient being alive who doesn't already possess this original awakening. And this brings us to a beautiful realization. Seeing your nature makes you a Buddha. Enlightenment isn't a distant, impossible goal. It's the direct recognition of a perfection that's already right there. You aren't building some new, enlightened structure from the ground up, You're really just turning the lights on in a room that is already fully furnished. The Record of the Source Mirror wants you to know that if you truly comprehend this one mind, the very mechanics of your consciousness are revealed to be totally flawless. Which naturally leads us to part two, the hidden jewel within, and why we suffer. Look, right now, your inner skeptic is probably screaming, okay, if I have Buddha wisdom, why am I just a normal suffering person? Why do I get stressed in traffic or panic about my bills? It's a completely fair question. The text actually anticipates this perfectly using three vivid metaphors to explain that our Buddha nature is simply hidden by delusion, not absent. First, imagine a strong man who has a priceless jewel right on his forehead, but because he's confused and can't see it, he genuinely thinks he's poor and destitute. The jewel didn't vanish, his awareness of it did. Second, think of a gorgeous lotus flower, thriving, remaining perfectly pristine, even when it's totally submerged in the muddiest, murkiest water. And third, pure gold trapped inside unrefined ore. Think about that for a second. The gold doesn't become more gold when you melt away the rock, right? Its essence was always pure. You just had to remove what was obscuring it. Your stress, your daily suffering, that's just the mud in the ore. Moving right along, let's explore part three, the power of emptiness, which is the true engine of change in this philosophy. Now, to understand how we actually transform, we have to talk about one of the most misunderstood words in all of philosophy, emptiness. Emptiness doesn't mean a dark, depressing void. It actually means we possess boundless potential specifically because our nature isn't rigidly fixed. When the text talks about all things being empty or having no intrinsic nature, it's not being nihilistic at all. It's actually the ultimate message of hope. Emptiness is literally what allows the universe to function. It means there is no permanent solid block of you that is doomed to suffer forever. Just think about the logic here. A stone has a fixed, rigid nature. You can't easily mold it or change its state. But water has no fixed shape. If it encounters biting cold, it freezes into solid ice. If it encounters heat, it melts and flows. Our minds are exactly like that water. When we encounter the cold conditions of ignorance and delusion, our minds freeze into the rigid, suffering state of a confused person. But when we apply the profound warmth of wisdom, we melt right back into our natural, boundless state. It's because we are empty of a fixed self that transformation is entirely possible for every single one of us. If we had a fixed nature, there would literally be no cause for Buddhahood. If you were permanently, inherently flawed, no amount of meditation or good deeds could ever possibly save you. It's precisely because you are empty that you're free to change. To really ground this heavy philosophy, we come to part four, seeing the true Buddha and understanding internal truth. There is this almost funny, surprising anecdote in the text about what it means to actually see the Buddha. The story goes that the Buddha was returning to Earth from the heavenly realms. Naturally, this massive, chaotic crowd gathers. Everyone wants to be the absolute first to physically greet him. One nun even uses her powers to transform into a commanding king just to shove her way to the front of the line. Meanwhile, Subhuti, one of the Buddha's greatest disciples, was just sitting quietly in a stone cave. He thought about running out to join the crowd, but then he realized all physical forms are temporary, they're empty. So he just stayed in his cave and observed the true nature of reality. When the massive crowd finally greeted the Buddha shocked everyone by saying, "Actually, Subhuti was the first to greet me."
Subhuti realized that the true Dharma body is emptiness. This story perfectly captures that true sight has nothing to do with looking at temporary physical forms. The physical body of the Buddha, just like all physical things, is going to change and decay. By staying in his cave and tuning into the profound interconnectedness of the universe, Subhuti connected with the Buddha's true essence. The text is urging us to stop chasing shadows and start looking directly at the source of the light itself.
So, how do we apply this? That brings us to our final section, Part 5, Awakening to Reality and Living the Truth. The beautiful, revolutionary conclusion here is that there is nowhere to go. True practice isn't about escaping reality. It's about recognizing your pure nature in everyday life. There are 3 big takeaways from this ultimate realization. First, there is absolutely nothing to seek outside yourself. You don't need to hike up a distant mountain to find truth. Second, there's no need to artificially suppress your thoughts. A lot of folks think meditation is about violently forcing your mind to go blank. But the text argues that since everything arises from the true mind, even your wandering, chaotic thoughts are expressions of that boundless nature. You just have to see them for what they are without getting tangled up in them. And third, every single action you take is part of the awakening. The text drops this massive quote from Master Ma Zu. If you want to know the mind, your very speaking right now is that mind. This reminds us that even our mundane, everyday conversations are expressions of this grand awakening. The act of you listening to this right now, that is the functioning of the Buddha nature. It's exactly like a mirror. The mirror doesn't create the reflections, but it allows them to happen. Your mind is that mirror. When you realize this, you don't have to stop talking or acting. You just stop being tricked by the reflections passing across the glass. So I will leave you with this to ponder as you go out into the world carrying that hidden jewel. If your mind is already the Buddha, what will you choose to see today? Will you focus entirely on the mud, or will you recognize the lotus? This explainer has merely pointed at the mirror. The reflection you choose to focus on, well, that is entirely up to you.